Hey guys, I'm back. I don't know how to start these videos now that I can't use my intro since I'm showing my face. So, hey guys, welcome back. As the title says, today I'm going to be showing you some of my new favorite leaves. And honestly, I'm just kind of happy to be doing another one of these videos because I feel like everything I've been doing lately is very like hands-on and labor-intensive and exhausting, and kind of just want to sit here and be with plants and show you some new leaves. But I think I have 11 or 12 plants that I pulled out that I want to show you. Just a forewarning, they are mostly philodendrons, mostly because my philodendrons are doing so well right now. I wanted to feature some anthuriums, but if you watched my maybe last week, you would have seen that I moved all my anthuriums out. I have spider mites, had thrips, and a lot of them they've seen better days. So there hasn't been a ton of anthurium growth, and if there has been, there's none that I'm like super excited about right now. In terms of Hoyas, I didn't pull any Hoyas out because I literally just showed you my entire Hoya collection in the Red Stick Cabinet video, the part 1. So yeah, it's mostly philodendrons, mostly plants that are growing in my Mars Hydro tent or in my Exos, just because they're all doing so well. So I'm not going to start in any particular order. I'm just going to start showing you one by one. And I do think that this is going to be a short one, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to start small. This is a Philodendron Jose Buano. I actually got it as a very large plant, but it was a cutting. None of the leaves made it. They all just died back to a stump. So I was able to propagate it multiple times, and this was one of the first propagations to wake up. The first leaf that ever came out on it is still on the plant, but as you can see, it is dying off. But that is where we started in terms of size, and this one is the newest one. So, I mean, the variegation on this one is just incredible. It's got like this really nice, like creamy, muted green color, like the green on green. When it first comes out, it's very white or like creamy white, and then it hardens off to green. I have seen some people's Jose's where it like stays white. I'm not really sure what that's about, but all of my white has faded into this green. On this newer leaf, you can see this little patch here that's like brighter. It's even brighter than that when it emerges, and all of this here used to be like close to that color, so it's darkened up, but I actually love it so much. I think I acquired this in October when I went back home to California, so it's been almost 7 months that I've had it, so not bad. I have pretty stable variegation on this specimen, and I hope that my other props are as variegated because these are just so fun to watch grow, and I cannot wait until I start getting the little lobes on them. They're very juvenile right now, but this one has actually been really easy for me. It's just living in moss right now in a plastic cup. It is inside of my Mars Hydro tent. I just hang it on the side of a wall. So it's about, oh gosh, I want to say like literally 4 inches away from a 10-watt grow light. So in terms of like resistance to bleaching, this one has been pretty okay, and I haven't noticed any significant cosmetic damage from being too close to a grow light. But then again, it's only 10 watts. But then also again, the same light bars bleached my Glorious and bleached my Majestic. So it really just depends on the plant. This one is just does not care, and it's obviously got a new leaf coming out. This plant grows so fast. I don't know if it's just very vigorous in growth when it's a juvenile plant, and maybe it slows down once it gets bigger, but I can say from all of my philodendron props, this one has to be one of the fastest growing that I've experienced. So I'm just really happy to have this. I was able to take a cutting and give one to Alice, and that one pushed out a new leaf. It looks like it's going to be very beautifully variegated as well. So I was really happy to be able to share that with her. It's been one of her wish list plants for a long time, and that woman is always throwing plants at me. Yeah, this is definitely one of the plants that are making me very, very happy right now. Every time I open up the tent, I find that I just always like look toward this one first to see if new growth is coming out, and every time it always surprises me with something. So hopefully we can keep this going. The next one is a Philodendron Heterocraspidon. This one was the leaf that I got from Alice. I'm trying to put a timeline together. I'm gonna have to look at my Instagram, but I haven't had this for very long. I still have it in the same nasty substrate that I've had it in since I got it. Just perlite down at the bottom and moss up at the top. So this was the first leaf to come out from this prop, and I would say it's pretty substantial for a mid-cut. I honestly expected something really small or smaller than this, and then with no ribbing. I thought it was gonna be very, very juvenile. So I was quite surprised to see this come out of it. Don't mind my husband sniffing in the background. He's just a sniffly guy. But this is the newest leaf to come out on it. And honestly, the size jump, I don't know, like it's living in crap, but it's very happy. It seems to really love the Mars Hydro tent. I have this one in the very back, not getting a ton of light. I only have one light bar in the front of the tent, sort of pointed backward, but the back of the tent is not as well lit as the front. And I do have this hanging pretty high, which is why I wanted to put it in the back, because I didn't want it to get bleached. Although it doesn't seem like this plant is very, very sensitive to light, because I had this one super close to a 24-watt grow light in my EXO, and yeah, it seems to be doing it, or it seemed to not mind it at all. But this new leaf is just so beautiful. I can't with the ribbing. It's just, it is something else. This plant has lived up to every expectation I had of it when I only knew what it looked like in photos, and I still sometimes can't believe I have this in my collection. I know that this isn't like super freaking rare or anything, not that I ever strive to only own rare plants, but at one point I almost felt like it was so unattainable that I would never own it. And I come to terms with a lot of plants that I probably will never own, like the Burle Marx Flame. Burle Marx's Flame, I think that's the new name. Burle Marx's Flame, not Burle Marx Flame. That plant I highly doubt I will ever own, because I don't have that kind of money or connections. Another one is the Monstera Syriana. Probably will never own that one either. And I kind of categorize the Heterocraspidon in that category. I don't know why, it just seemed very elusive back in like 2018, 2019. So Alice did pay quite a bit for this plant. I think it was like 300 or 350 USD. To us, that's a lot, especially when you make Canadian dollars. It's painful. The conversion is very painful. So I'm just really, really happy to have this plant. Alice did a really good job with this chop, and she got things started for me. I think she gave this to me as a rooted cutting, if I can remember. If not, I would have rooted it. It's kind of hard to keep track of like the history of plants once you kind of reach a certain threshold, and I think I was there like a long time ago. But yeah, this is a favorite. I just love the texture of this leaf. It feels exactly like a Patriciae if you own a Patriciae, or like a Philodendron Emerald Dense. It looks shiny, but it sort of has like a matte feel. And yeah, it's got this bright green midrib, and the back is just as beautiful. It's like this beautiful red color, not as bright as like a Philodendron bicolor, very similar to like a Mexicanum. And then as it ages, it kind of goes away. Like you can see the back of this is not red anymore. Back of this is not super red. It's got kind of like reddish undertones, but definitely this one, there's like absolutely no red in it at all. I don't know if like you can keep the red if it's under certain light. I don't know anything, don't listen to me. But anyway, I gotta repot this one soon. It doesn't seem to mind living in a swamp, but she deserves better. And yeah, I can't wait to repot it. I think I'll love it even more once it's repotted and out of this ugly, nasty looking thing. The next one, I can't remember if I've shown this to you recently. Maybe in my week of plant to-dos, my last one of the last ones I did. I can't remember anymore. This is my Alocasia Frydek, and I don't know what I did to deserve this. If you don't know the backstory of this plant, Jing showed up to my birthday lunch with a small cup of pon and a little bulb, and I was like, happy birthday. I knew immediately what it was because I knew she had just repotted her Frydek and that she had corms, and obviously I wasn't going to be that friend that was like, so can I get a corm? But yeah, she delivered, and there wasn't a ton of variegation in the beginning. This is probably the third leaf on it, or the fourth. It took a while for it to size up. All of the leaves were about this size or smaller in the beginning, and I was kind of wondering like what I was doing wrong, because Alice's was sizing up so much faster than mine, and we both have it in pon in basically the same conditions. It kind of just took a while to stabilize and stop focusing on my face. This is why I don't like showing my face. If I move around too much, it just wants to like focus on me, which is my worst nightmare. So anyway, yeah, all the leaves were like this. For a while there were like, oh my gosh, I can't get it to focus. Okay, I'm just gonna go like this. Don't focus on my face. It was putting out mostly green, and then it started to get really, really white. Like there was a leaf that was pretty much all white, and then it pushed out this one, and you can kind of see like that white didn't last, and there were some cells that burst, and I was just worried that this plant was going to turn into one of those specimens that are just too white and can't sustain itself. But I've been pleasantly surprised because it would just start to push out leaves that had like the perfect amount of green and white variegation. And then, you know, it started giving me leaves like this, which are just freaking mind-blowingly beautiful. And I couldn't have asked for a better specimen. And this leaf is significantly larger than where we were before. So I'm just so happy. Like it really is starting to look like a Frydek, you know? Something that's surprising about this plant that's surprised me as well is I find this one to be so much easier than definitely the Alocasia Mycolitiana maxkowskii, which is the green form of this. I have found it to be more of a robust grower than the green maxkowskii. And honestly, it's held on to more leaves at a time than any of my other alocasias, even my scalprum, which I find to be probably the easiest alocasia of all time. But yeah, I was kind of scared at first to own this one because I was like, I swear I'm not a witch, but like when I'm filming, I just want to get her done. And when I'm interrupted, I turn into a Karen. Okay, so what was I saying? You see, this is why I don't like getting interrupted. Yeah, so this one has held on to more leaves. It's just been like very low maintenance. I grew this in my exo for the first few months. It was in an exo that was like around 65% humidity, if not lower, because that was before I covered the top completely with glass and plastic, and didn't really mind, didn't care at all. And then once it pushed out this leaf, I moved it into my tent because I just wanted to see if the growth would be even larger. And I don't know if it was just coincidence, but this was the first leaf to grow in my Mars Hydro tent, where it's significantly more humid, significantly brighter, and warmer. And yeah, we've got this nice big leaf. So I will say one thing about this plant is that it does not like to be light deprived. So if you're not giving it a ton of light, you might find that it droops a lot. And a lot of people associate that sort of symptom or whatever to be a watering issue or a root issue. But the nice thing about using clear vessels is that I can rule out those kinds of things almost immediately without needing to disturb the plant, without needing to pull it out of the substrate. So I when I had this on the floor of my EXO, it was growing well, but all of the leaves kind of just always looked very like droopy and sort of sad. And so when I moved it into the EXO, all of them just sort of perked up and found the light. The nice thing about where this is in the tent is that it's getting light from everywhere. I have lights pointing forward, I have lights on the top, and so it's not all just kind of facing upward. They are just kind of hanging, I guess, where they naturally would, and I just love it so much. Plants are so cool. I want a shirt that says that plants are cool, like that's it, because it's just like, what else do you need to know? Plants are cool. Yeah, I'm just really grateful to have this one. Thank you, Jing, so much for this. I know I thank her all the time. I always send photos, me and Alice always send photos of our growth updates, and are just like, oh, you're so annoying, Jing. Obviously in a loving way, but it's like, who just gives somebody a fry deck? Like, she could have got good money for this. This one is still very sought after in our local plant community, and I hope that this thing gives me some bulbs soon. I feel like the rhizome is still quite small, so I might not see corms anytime soon. I can see my cleavage in my peripherals. This is fake, by the way, because I'm wearing a push-up bra. And it's distracting me. The next one is a Philodendron tortum. I'm gonna try to not show you the new leaf that I'm very excited about. This one is such a fast grower. I was very surprised at how fast growing this was. When I had read about this plant before I owned it, a lot of people were saying that it can be slow growing, it can get very leggy, but I've always given it conditions where it wouldn't be allowed to throw a tantrum. So I have no experience in growing this in non-greenhouse conditions, but all of these leaves were grown inside of an EXO or my tent, and they've all been amazing. You can see the new growth here. It grows in very strangely, and it's so kind of like disturbingly beautiful. Like, what is that? It's just like so I've heard people that try and grow this like out in room humidity conditions say that sometimes it has trouble coming out of the sheath. They get torn, the little spindly things don't fully unfurl, or if it's not getting enough light, it just gets really leggy. And I'm so sorry to use this as an example, Jing. Love you so much. Not me roasting Jing. So here's a photo of Jing's tortum. I don't know if she grew it like that or if she acquired it that way, but you can see the space between the nodes, the internodes, are very long, whereas mine is super duper compact. It's growing like right on top of each other, where it is basically nearly impossible to chop. And I think it's because it's always been super close to a grow light. It's always been in very warm and humid conditions. So I don't know if I plan to ever grow this outside of a greenhouse anytime soon, just because I love the way that it's growing. But yeah, that's my experience with it. It does not like to be cold, from what I've read. I don't know firsthand if that's true, because I've never put it in a cold place before. It's always been very warm. So that's what I'll say about that. But the new leaf on this thing is huge. It's so big. I know it might not look on camera so much bigger than the rest of the leaves, but trust me, this guy he has sized up quite a bit. Let me try and find the oldest leaf on this guy. I think if I had to take just a guess, I think it's this one down here, and it's almost impossible to see. So that is one of the oldest leaves on this plant, and now we are here, and you can see it's bigger than my palm. I love this thing so much. It's so beautiful. It's just one of those plants that like have such a what word am I thinking of? It's just so, not fairy tale. It looks kind of creepy. It's very Tim Burton-y, I would say. And I think I've said this in the past that some people don't enjoy this plant because they think it looks too much like a palm. I don't think it looks like a palm at all, nor does it feel like a palm. And these leaves are not as like soft as people would think. They do have a little bit more structure to them, and it's just so fun. and I've just loved seeing how big this thing has grown. If you watched my video that I did with my mom where I give her any plant she wants, you would have seen that I used to have 2 tortums potted together, and it just looked so big and bushy and beautiful, and I loved it so much. But I did tell her she could take any plant, and instead of giving her a cutting, I just gave her the other plant entirely. And so after I gave it to her, I got a little sad, I'm not gonna lie, because it didn't look as bushy as before, and just looked, I don't know, it looked so lonely. But now that there are more leaves on it, it's like you can't even tell that it's not 2 plants anymore, just because of how compact and how bushy it is. But like, I'm gonna try and get my face out of the frame. Like, I just really want you guys to understand how beautiful these leaves are. Like, there's just really nothing like it. I will say that this is probably in my top 5 favorite philodendrons, which might be a bit surprising to some, maybe, but it's just, it's incredible. I just am so excited to see how large it can get, although I'm scared because I don't know how much longer it can fit in my grow tent. I think at some point it's really gonna take over the entire top because I have it hung, and I just don't know. I don't know how much longer I will have the luxury of growing it inside of a greenhouse, which is always the struggle when you're growing inside, especially in an apartment where like space is even more limited. But I am not going to be taking it out of the tent anytime soon. I'm going to leave it in there until it really, really, really cannot fit anymore. And then we'll find out if this guy grows well in room humidity conditions. But I just wanted to highlight it because she's so beautiful and she's growing so well for me. Quickly, I do have it in just some soil with drainage holes. And I can't remember, I think that this is the pot that I repotted it in when I gave the other one to my mom. So I would have repotted this in the new year, so January. And I think it's grown maybe 4 new leaves since I repotted it. I will say that this one does like to be fertilized. I do both a foliar feed and a soil drench feed. I think that I'm actually fertilizing my plants more so through the leaves than I am in the substrate, mostly because, let's just talk about this quickly. With the sprayer, it is very convenient to have for your plants, but it doesn't have such a strong spray, or like the water flow out of it is very little compared to how much you would water it normally, right? Like a big pot or something. So it kind of takes a long time to fertilize if you're just using the sprayer. The sprayer is really great for small plants, plants in passive hydro that are really small, for fertilizing poles. But if you're planning on, let's say, watering like a 6-inch pot, you're gonna be standing there forever. You're probably gonna have to pump like 3 times just to get as much fertilizer as you want inside of the substrate. So because of that fact, I have not been fertilizing the soil as much because I'm very lazy to just mix a new fertilizer batch for pouring it in. So to sort of balance out how little I'm fertilizing in the substrate, I have been doing a lot more foliar feeding. And I think I read somewhere that they can absorb more nutrients through the leaf than in the roots. I don't know how true that is. Someone fact check me. Alice said, and she is the myco queen, she said that a plant can create sort of that symbiosis with your mycorrhizae a lot better, or like it strengthens that bond between them when you're not fertilizing as much, because when you are fertilizing, the plant is just kind of getting everything it needs, and like I feel like the beneficial bacteria is like, oh, you don't really need me, I'll just chill out, just stay back here. But when you sort of do deprive it a little bit of nutrients through the roots, it kind of like wakes it up more. I don't know, someone go ask Alice. I am not the one to ask about that, but I have noticed that my plants have beefed up significantly since I've been foliar feeding more regularly. And if you're curious about my foliar feeding, the cleavage, it's too much, I'm very sorry. If you're curious about the foliar feeding, I am feeding liquid gold leaf and cow mag primarily, and sometimes I'll add in Marfil, and I'll do that maybe 2 times a week at minimum. And then in terms of soil drench feeding, it's just whenever it gets it on a weekly basis in very small amounts when I am using it in my sprayer. So anyway, this is my Philodendron tortum. If you've been looking for a sign to get one, here it is. Go get a tortum. So sunset is in like 20 minutes, so I gotta haul ass here, and I still have so many more to go. So the next one is my Variegated Heterasium var Oxycardium. I also got this from Jing as a 1-leaf cutting. I think I still have the original leaf. I think this one might be the original one. Or maybe the original one died. I can't remember. I was originally gonna have this one trailing, but then I thought, how beautiful would that be to see this leaf beef up in size with the variegation. So this is my attempt at trying to size up this plant. And of course I had to use the clear lazy pole, or lazy-ish pole, whatever people are calling it these days. And it's been good. You can see that the pole is working its magic. Got some nice fuzzy roots going all the way down. And I'm not seeing any real significant leaf size difference. You know, it takes time. And I do have this one in pawn. But yeah, I wanted to highlight this one because this new leaf is just, it's incredible. I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact it is basically making out with my grow light right now in my Mars Hydro tent, but there's so much of that creamy sort of greenish variegation on this one in comparison to the ones down here where it was kind of sort of just scattered throughout. I mean, this plant in general has very good variegation on it, so I wasn't really worried about not having variegation. But this one kind of surprised me, and I think that Jing's plant sort of started pushing out leaves that all looked like this. So yeah, it's funny. It kind of looks like a marble queen with this variegation, doesn't it? Kind of. Or people call it snow queen. I don't know. But yeah, it's given me very marble queen pothos energy. This one is just so pretty. I love the fact that philodendrons, they kind of face down like the trailing ones, whereas pothos, like they curl up. So that's one reason why I tend to lean toward philodendrons rather than pothos. I do have a few pothos in my collection. I've got the Cebu blue, I have the Baltic blue, I've got Glacier or Enjoy, whatever it's trying to be. Oh, I have the, what is that? Global Green. So not too many, but yeah, I'm surprised at how well this one has been growing. I think once it reaches the top, I'm gonna chop it since I do have some nice roots on this. I don't know if Alice has any interest in this, but she doesn't have one, so I might give her a cutting against her will. But yeah, this isn't one of those plants that I really want to extend the pole like so tall. I would much rather chop it and then just move it back down. I'm so itchy. Why am I so itchy? Not much else to say about this one. I just wanted to show you guys this new leaf just because when it unfurled, I was like, whoa, there's so much variegation. Yeah, I think that my preference for this plant is to have leaves that look like this because this is my favorite leaf on it so far. I just really love the like green on green, and I love these big like sectoral variegated parts of like the dark green. So I wouldn't be mad either way if it like kind of started just looking like this, because I can see the new leaf is very, very light. I think it's gonna look like this again, but that would be so amazing if I could get more leaves like this because it's just beautiful. So yeah, this one is definitely a new leaf favorite right now. We are gonna take a philodendron break, and it's gonna be the only philodendron break because the rest are philodendrons. The next one is my that sounded like the end of the world. The next one is my Begonia Sinbad. And I don't know if you guys remember this plant, but it was that little teeny tiny cutting that I had. It was like a 2-leaf cutting. It was like this small, and it started growing like pretty well. It got, I don't know, it got maybe like a foot tall, and then it just died back. All the leaves just turned this like bright, you can kind of see here on this dying leaf. they all turned like this and just all fell off. And so I just had like a leafless stump, and I was so sad because I had given most of the cutting to my mom, and I was like, well, if this dies, that's just the end of the road for us because I got nothing left. But I decided I'm gonna just try and TLC it. I gave it a little bit more attention. I repotted it. I got it into Lechuzapon. I put it into my Milsbo, which is much warmer than my shelf here. And I think it just really appreciated the warmth because this thing has blown up. It is big. And I had it trailing before. I think I showed it in my week of plant to-dos. And then Lisa, if you're watching, she was like, stake it up, it's stressing me out. And I was like, you know what, you're right, it is stressing me out. So I took Lisa's advice. She's an avid watcher of this channel and is always showing me so much love on Instagram. So I took your advice, Lisa, and I hope you're proud of me. But yeah, this thing is just ginormous. And you guys, probably the next time I show this to you, I want to say in like 2 or 3 weeks, or like give it a month, it's gonna be huge. And you know why? Because all of these, it's hard to see, but every single node is pushing out new growth. Like there's a new growth point there, there's a new growth point here, there's new growth under here. There is so much new growth down at the base of it. Every single node has activated, and now on these new growth points, those growth points are activating. So it's gonna be humongous, and I'm stoked. I'm excited, except I won't be able to fit it in my Milsbo for any much longer unless I take out the shelf, which I'm not willing to do because the bottom is like the perfect propagating space. And I think we're gonna have to go back to shelf life and see how it does. I'm gonna have to slowly acclimatize it out. I don't wanna shock it. But yeah, this one is just, every time, this has to be one of those plants, like Philodendron, Anthurium, that just makes me, I'm not gonna say it, but I just love everything about it. Like, I know a lot of people say they don't like begonias, and honestly, I am not a huge begonia lover either. There are not many begonias that I'm like, I need it. There are a few that are on my wish list, but in terms of like the die-hard begonia collectors, I'm not one of them. But this one just makes me crazy. Like the pink on it, the fuzziness. It's got like this very, very nice sort of like, it's not shimmery, it's not like sparkly or anything, but it has just this kind of like this glow to it, you know, like it just gives off this glow that is just freaking beautiful. And I did start growing this under harsher light, and the leaves got really, really pink, and I wasn't super into it. I really like the color of these when you just let it be the color it is without sun stressing it. It's amazing, and it pushes out so many of these tiny little flowers that don't last very long, but they come pretty often. Stop focusing on my face. They're just so dainty and little and like magical. And typically I don't like flowers really on plants, but this is the exception that I make. When I see flowers come out on this thing, I squeal. Like, oh god, this thing's wobbly. So yeah, hopefully I was able to insert a photo of what it looked like back, maybe not. I don't think that I have a photo of it when I first acquired it, but I definitely have one from when I had it maybe like a few weeks or like a month or two or something, but it was definitely not this large. Someone remind me in a month to show you this thing. I think it's gonna be a full-on tree. The next one I'm gonna show you is my Choco Red. The last time that you would have seen this plant was in one of my, I think it was a repot and chat, where I got it into this insane wonky situation where I was trying to root it with pon up on the stem, and I mean, it worked. It is definitely rooted, but now I don't know what's next. You can see that it's got significant damage, and I know that it looks like thrips damage, but this is spider mite damage. It was attacked like crazy. A sure sign of spider mite damage is this very like sort of dusty, spotty, white texture you see on the leaf there. And I feel like it can mock thrips damage sometimes because of this coppery color, but it is spider mites, it is not thrips. You might be able to hear the FaceTime call. I don't want to hang up yet because I want to see my niece eat. Yeah, anyway, despite the spider mite situation, this is the newest leaf on it, and I think that it definitely benefited from being in this little cup. Again, I'm not really sure what the plan is. This was just an experiment, and I was able to get some like roots on the part that I like air layered with pon. I don't know what's next. But it definitely sized up. Like the size difference from this leaf to this leaf is pretty, I would say it's pretty substantial. Like this leaf is like as big as my palm, and this one is like, well, this one is smaller than my palm, and then this one is as big as my palm, or a little bit smaller than my palm, but almost there. But I will say that it took kind of a long time for me to really love this plant the way that I thought I was gonna love it when I first imported it back in like 2019. But watching it grow from like a tiny stump into this has been pretty, I would say, incredible. I got this as a stump from my friend Hannah back in I think it was like the end of 2019. And it's kind of taken a long time to size up. But yeah, I feel like getting it on a pole or getting those aerial newts, getting those aerial nodes to wake up in terms of roots definitely helped a lot. I also have this one growing in my Mars Hydro tent. So it's getting a lot of humidity, it's getting a lot of light. And again, I am doing a lot of foliar feeding on this one, and then also fertilizing in this little area here where there's pon and moss. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to show the size difference on this one. It's been a few weeks since I showed it to you. And yeah, that's about it. Okay guys, seriously, the sun is gonna go down in like 10 minutes. I am really pushing it here. But the next one is my Philodendron Majestic. And I feel like I've shown this plant a couple times on this channel. This was my original mother plant from the first time I ever imported one. Yeah, I've cut it plenty of times because I've given so many cuttings away to friends. I've sold some cuttings. I gave like 3 cuttings or 2 cuttings to my mom. But this is the newest leaf on it, and she's getting so big. It's like as big as my head. Well, smaller than my head. But I mean, considering this is the oldest leaf on it and it's like quite small. Stop focusing on my face or I will throw a tantrum. And then this one. And it's just like so pretty. Like the venation is like so sunken in. The leaves are really dark. I've already taken out one of the light bars from my exos, but if I take out another one, it's gonna just be really, really dark in there, and I don't really like the look of it. But this one just bleaches so easily. Honestly, I don't. And there goes my mushroom door. So I think this is probably the largest leaf I have ever grown in my care, because I told myself I was gonna stop chopping, and it has paid off. The sucky part though is that it has outgrown this pole so fast, but look at these scrumptious roots. Like, this plant loves this pole. And the newest node is all the way up here, so I really have to extend it soon. This thing is wobbling. Calm down. The new leaf looks like it's gonna be really big. It hasn't even fully come out yet, so it's probably gonna be like this big. I think that it's gonna be bigger than this leaf because this emergent leaf does look larger than this one when it emerged. And yeah, I'm really excited. It's kind of funny though, I don't really like this plant when it reaches a certain maturity, and I'll throw up a photo of one here. It kind of like loses this, like that soderoy shimmeriness, and it loses like, I don't know, it looks very varicosum, and I'm not a huge varicosum lover. I love plants hybridized with the varicosum, but in terms of the plant itself, it's not one that I love so much. I don't know why, but yeah, as it gets more mature, I'm just not a huge fan of the way it looks. I might feel differently if I have it in my care and I'm seeing it grow from like this small tiny thing. There are a lot of plants that have grown on me in a way that I didn't think that I would love as much as I do now, because I've been able to witness it grow from a small plant, and you kind of create that connection and that bond, you know? I wish that the leaves could just stay like this, but on a larger scale without transforming so much, but I don't know, we're gonna see. I think if it reaches a point where it's getting really large and I'm not really liking the way it looks anymore, I might chop it back, because I love seeing these leaves on it. If you guys have been struggling with sizing up your Majestic, get it on a pole stat. I think I'm gonna do a repot and chat soon and show you how I extend the D-shaped moss pole. I think that it's going to be more of a lazy pole extension situation. I don't really think I'm going to be making many of these D-shaped moss poles, because the lazy pole is just so much quicker and it's easier to assemble and disassemble, and it'll be easier to do more of a lazy pole situation connected to here. So oh, and then one more thing I want to note about this plant. I just have found this to be so much easier than the Soderoy and the Varicosum. I haven't had a ton of luck with Varicosums historically. Import-wise, it's like 0 for 3, I think. I have struggled a little bit with sizing mine up, but I think I chalk that up to the fact I've chopped it down so many times. I just find that now that I'm letting my plants just grow and do its thing, I'm not doing a lot of trading right now. I'm not selling plants really anymore, and I'm just kind of letting them do their thing. I think it's helped a lot, and I'm not going to feature it in this video, but my new Soderoy, variegated Soderoy leaf is getting bigger, and that one is on I think it's on a lazy pole or maybe a D-shaped pole, I can't remember. But I do find that this hybrid is much easier than the parent plants. If you don't really have luck with Soderoy, you don't have luck with Varicosum, and you love both plants, this plant might be for you. I think I might have enough time to get through the last 4 before it goes completely dark in this room. So the next one that I want to show you is my Philodendron Florida Beauty. And I repotted this one also in a repot and chat, and I got it onto a lazy pole, and I repotted it, and it's doing very well. You can see all these brand new roots in there. It's gonna be hard to show you this plant without showing you the new leaves, but she is getting big. I think the last leaf you guys would have seen on camera was maybe this one down here. And the size jump has just been pretty freaking significant. Like, look at how big this leaf is. It's so big. And this is the newest one to come out on it. And the variegation is just incredible on this one. I haven't had any like reverted leaves. I haven't had any that didn't have a ton of variegation. Like, every single leaf has just been trying to outshine the last, and I'm just so grateful to have it. And I feel like this one doesn't really require much. I find it to be kind of an easier plant. It's definitely easier for me than the Florida Green and the Florida Ghost. Surprisingly, I would have thought that this would be the most difficult one, but yeah, really all this thing I would say likes is being on a pole for one, and lots of light, lots and lots of light. I have this one very close to a grow light as well, and haven't had any bleaching. And it's pushing out a new leaf there. I'm gonna have to add some more moss up here because that node is exposed. This leaf actually looks smaller than emergent one. It looks smaller than when this one emerged, and I don't know, sometimes it can be really deceiving. Like, you'll think like, oh, it looks like it's not as big as the last, and then it'll fully harden off and it's like this massive thing. Yeah, this one is also getting very big in my tent. It has a large wingspan, so we might need to move it out soon. It's like all signs are pointing to getting a larger tent, but I've told myself I'm not gonna do it because I don't have the space. I just don't. But you know, plants like this that I really would love to keep growing in greenhouse conditions, just to see like how big it can get. Yeah, for those reasons, I really do want to keep it inside of the tent. One thing I really appreciate about this plant, and I don't know if it's the light situation or just the environment of the Mars Hydro tent itself, but the nodes are so close. I've noticed that a lot of people who have been selling Florida Beauties locally or on like BST groups, the internodes are like really long. And I don't know if it's maybe reaching for light. I don't really know what everyone's growing situation is, but I have this one very close to a light, and I think that's why it's growing very compact, which I'm grateful for, because if this thing had long internodes and these leaves were as large as they are, we would have a serious problem. So anywho, this is my Florida Beauty, and she is definitely a beauty. The next one up is my original Philodendron SP Colombia from North Shore Tropicals. I got this at the event that we did. I don't remember when. So we did the event 8 months ago. Okay, so 8 months ago, I think I got this as a 2 or 3 leaf plant, and all of the leaves were about this big, which I actually thought was quite big when I first got it. I was like, wow, these leaves are huge. And all of the leaves kind of were in that same sort of size area. I mean, you can see some leaf size growth for sure. This is another plant that is extremely light sensitive. It bleaches very easily in my experience. Also, a thing to note is that when I first got the plant, I noticed that all the leaves kind of like drooped like this. Like it's kind of like they curl in that way. Like you can see that back one. I'm really not sure why they do that. I know Alice kind of had that issue too. I think she maybe still might have that issue. I can't remember. I haven't really seen her SP Columbia lately, but all of the new leaves that have come out in my care have been pretty, I would say, normal. They don't droop or anything, and I don't know if that's because of the conditions I give it, but this was growing in my, I had this one growing in an exo at like 65% humidity for the first few months that I had it. And then I recently got it into my Mars Hydro tent when I shifted things around because I could finally fit it. I will show you, this is actually the second leaf to grow inside of the Mars Hydro tent, and the second leaf since putting it on a lazy pole. So this is the new leaf. Like, she is so pretty. It's so big. Let me, I need to move the camera a little bit. Don't mind my messy kitchen in the background, but this one is the leaf that came before it, which I was like, ooh, it's getting big. And then this freaking monster showed up, and like way bigger than my head for sure. And I just love that it's like so full and bushy. It's held on to so many leaves at once. Like, look how pillowy this is. Those leaves are so, the venation is so sunken in. Like, I used to think that the Philodendron Dean McDowell was the pillowiest leaf of them all, but I think this one takes the cake. I think this one is the Philodendron Grand Champion of the world, and I just can't believe how large this is getting. I do think that a lot of it is because of this lazy pole. Like, the roots are crazy in there. It's kind of hard to see with the glare, but it's really not in that big of a pot. This is a 6-inch pot. Is it 6? This looks like a 5. Anyway, it's in a 6-inch pot. Yeah, she's so nice. I feel like this could be the thumbnail. So anyway, this is, I cannot get enough of this plant. Honestly, I'm so glad that I imported another one, because if it's anything like this one in terms of like the specimen and like the way it's been growing and how well it's been growing, I think the other one will be this big in no time. And I can't even imagine getting a leaf larger than this, to be honest. It just looks so huge already. And if it does push out another leaf bigger than this, again, we are gonna have some issues. But this new Cataphyll is looking, she looks thick. She looks really thick. I want to show you like the details of it. I feel like I could do a whole video on the Philodendron SP Colombia, but I think I would need more plants to make a full video. Oh, also this one is, in addition to it being sensitive to light, I find that this one is also a heavy feeder. I am mostly fertilizing through the leaves. Like you can see a lot of like the residue that has been left behind from foliar feeds. I tried to bump up the airflow in the Mars Hydro tent. I think I need to add one more fan because it's still a little bit too stagnant even at like the highest setting. So yeah, I need to do that. But also I am feeding mostly through the roots on this moss pole, and then yeah, again, foliar feeding. I haven't foliar fed this leaf that many times because I really don't want to see any staining on it, but I think that the foliar feeding on the other leaves contributed to how big and beautiful and pillowy this new leaf is. So anywho, that's the Philodendron SP Colombia. If you guys do not have one of these already, please do it. They are available in Ecuador. I got mine from, well, I got one of them from Lauren at North Shore Tropicals. I don't know how many she has ready to go at the moment, but she is going to be shipping to the States soon. So keep an eye out for her website. She'll be able to ship to yeah, anywhere in the US and also in Canada. And then if you're not able to get it from her, I did just recently pick one up from Equiflora. If you're able to import from Ecuador, Equiflora specifically, their specimens are just, they're insane, and they came in such great condition. If you guys missed my import video, I did it in the part 1 of my last week of plant to-dos. So check that out. I'm glad I documented it because it would be nice to see a glow up like this one. We are down to the last 2 now. It actually looks so much brighter in the camera than it is in real life, but it is getting dark, so I gotta wrap this up. No new leaf or new growth video would be complete, obviously, without my Philodendron Glorious. I'm gonna try to not show you the new leaf right away. I've mentioned this before, but this one has seen better days, like in the past. These leaves have seen better days. I was experimenting a lot with growing conditions, light conditions, humidity conditions with this. I tried to push it to see how much it could take, and the leaves definitely took a beating, but sometimes you just gotta do it, you know? And I showed one of the newer leaves that was humongous to me in the Lazy Pull Part 2 video. I'm trying to not show you this new leaf, I don't wanna spoil it. So it was this leaf right here that I showed in that video that is so much bigger than like a leaf down here. It's like way bigger than my hand. And yeah, it's really loved living in the Mars Hydro tent. I know that I can grow this out in room conditions, but I don't know, I've enjoyed spoiling it, but because I cannot hide this from you any longer, here is the newest leaf on it. It is bigger than the last. This was the last one, and then this was the most recent. The leaves, or the venation on this one, they're getting like brighter. Like this one is like not as like prominent. This one is like really white, and it comes out a lot further to the leaf margin. Still not getting like that mature like rounded sinus, but just based on the size of this leaf, I feel like we're getting close, because she's big. I cannot even believe that I have this in my possession. I can't believe I've grown a leaf this large. Yeah, like I said, I've just always cut my plants down. I've always made sure that they can fit in the space that I give them. So it's kind of crazy to see like how much they can grow when you just leave them the hell alone and give them a lazy pole, or just a pole in general. I'm not trying to say the lazy pole is the best pole ever, but it has changed my plants significantly. I will say that for sure. And you know, the Glorious lives up to the hybrid vigor and is pushing out another new leaf. And this looks like it's probably going to be around the same size as this. I don't have much hope that it's going to have like that rounded sinus. I think I'm going to have to maybe grow like 2 or 3 more leaves to get a rounded sinus, maybe. But yeah, in general, this plant has just grown so much and has grown so well. I'm so proud of her. She's a big girl now, and definitely when it outgrows this pole, it is not going to fit in my Mars Hydro tent anymore. We're going to have to figure something out, because I can't lower the shelf any more than I have without losing a bunch of space for other plants. So I think that this is gonna be the next one that I try and grow out in room conditions, which I'm kind of sad about. I don't really want to expose it to the elements. I don't want to expose it to more pests, because I actually had a thrips and spider mite situation on this, and it probably still has spider mites, but hasn't really shown much stress on the newer leaves. But it really attacked the lower leaves a lot. Yeah, this one's one of my pride and joys. I'm very, very proud of her. And I'm really anxious to see how big this new leaf is, because it looks like a long boy. And now I'm tired. Last but certainly not least, I'm not even gonna try and hide this new leaf because it is impossible. What is she doing? She's huge. She's massive. I'm right next to it. Like, this leaf is ginormous. I feel like, you know, some people take photos where it's like distorted perception. Like, look, it looks way more massive now that I'm like behind it, but we're side by side and she's humongous. I thought this leaf was big. This one here. I mean, it is, but this one is definitely, it's like a third larger than the other one. This plant is pushing out an incredible amount of extra floral nectaries though. I'm gonna see if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it glistening on there. I'm gonna put my head down. Anyway, yeah, this plant is a very EFN heavy plant. I have no ants for it to come collect the sap, but I have been giving it regular wash downs because it burns through the leaves so bad. And it kind of resembles like spider mite damage, but it is just EFN. But this is just, I can't even describe how much I love this plant. Like, it's just been so good to me ever since I imported it. It was a very easy one to root. It was an easy one to get new leaves out of. I didn't really have any issues with it after I imported it. The only issue I had was acclimatizing it down to room humidity, because now it's living in my living room. You can see here, this was the leaf that really threw a tantrum, like literally the day after I took it out of the Rudsta. If you guys would believe it, this was living in the Rudsta for a while. But after this leaf came out, I was like, I can't fit, you can't fit. It's too big. Yeah, she's due for a repot though. Let me show you what I have done. I had to cut the pot. Oh my God, it's all boobs. I had to cut the pot open because this caterpillar was like busting out of there. I look ridiculous behind this plant. But yeah, it was just getting really, really big and I didn't want to stunt the growth of it. So I sacrificed a pot, and I have two options. I can repot this into one of my rectangle Muji storage boxes, or I can just kind of let it do its thing, take it out of this black pot and keep it where it's at, and then just put a pot next to it so that it can root into there. Yeah, I'm just not sure. I'm really just not sure. Although I wouldn't mind chopping this stem down a little bit and propagating it, because if I could have more babies from this, I would be so happy. I did chop this plant once, but I sold the chunk to my friend Angela. I don't know if it did anything for her, but yeah, I was kind of sad to not have another one to see grow from a little plant. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to make that call somewhat soon because things are happening. She's on the move. This caterpillar is getting a lot bigger by the day, and I fear that I am running out of time. So anyway, I just wanted to end this video with a bang. I feel like I've ended a lot of my like favorites videos or new growth videos with this plant, and I really hope that she doesn't go downhill, because I feel like every time I post videos of like favorites or like plants that are doing really well, they just get cursed and then they all go downhill. So fingers crossed. I would knock on wood, but Pudgy's gonna start barking. But again, I'm gonna put this down because it's very heavy. that concludes this video. I can literally see the sun going down, so I just made it in time and I'm starving. I'm so hungry. I just want to eat like takeout and watch the Kardashians. I've had such a crazy work day today. I've filmed 2 videos. This week is hectic. But anyway, thank you guys. Oh, my kitchen is so messy. I need to go clean my kitchen. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching another video. I hope you liked it. If you like seeing new leaf updates or growth updates, let me know. I don't do this kind of video very often, but I wish I did more of them because this one was fun. As usual, if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up because it helps Pudgeonize visibility a lot on YouTube. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you to all of the old and the new subscribers, and I will see you in the next one.